So I'm delighted to say that we've got a special player and a special person joining us this afternoon. She's raced here from a behind closed doors game against Liverpool. Are we allowed to know the score?
No.
No, okay. So we really appreciate that, thank you. She's an athletic midfielder, the ultimate team player. She's a bit of a joker, I think I'm allowed to say that. She's got quite a career already and she's still got a few years ahead of her. 125 England caps, that does make her a legend, doesn't it? She's played at 3 World Cups, 3 Euros, and that's included 2 semis and a final. She's won the Premier League Cup and the FA Cup with Everton. She's won the League and the FA Cup double with Man City. She even managed to score a goal at Wembley in the Cup final in May. I might ask you about that. And you've just signed a new contract at City as well.
Yeah.
Congratulations. She's managed all of this despite having played in a team with old biffers like me and people less talented. So this is Jill Scott, Manchester City and England.
Thank you.
So that goal at Wembley, where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of them where I'd like to say I do it every day in training, but I really don't. I just remember the ball coming over. It was a good ball from Tony and just took a touch, and I think it was stuck under my foot, to be honest. So I was just like, just swing it and seeing it go top corner. So
it was a bit of a worldie.
Yeah, it was, to be fair. It'll probably be up there with one of my best goals. I don't score too many, so it was nice to get one at Wembley.
So you've signed a long-term contract. What does that mean? Are you allowed to say?
I don't know how long-term. I'm 30 now, so not too long-term. Yeah, I've signed 3 years with Manchester City, so yeah, very pleased about that. I think when you get a little bit older, you probably start to worry that you're going to be left on the shelf a little bit. But yeah, I feel like I've had a good few seasons with Manchester City, and I still feel fit enough that I can still run around with the 17, 18-year-olds, and yeah, I still feel like I can get better as well. So I feel like Manchester City is the best club for me to do that. Yeah.
In case I forget to mention it, on Friday, FIFA released the new women's rankings, and England are up to 3rd. That's the highest they've ever been. What does that make you think?
Yeah, I got told that in an interview, and it actually genuinely did give us goosebumps, I think. Being in the England team, I think we were 13th, 14th maybe a few years ago, so to get up to 3rd and be amongst the teams like USA, Germany, it's a great achievement, and credit to Mark and the staff for how much work they've put in, and also the era before that of Hope and all the girls always wanting to do the right stuff and create an atmosphere and an environment where players are going to thrive. And for us to get a 3rd in the world, it's a great achievement and one that we should be proud of.
Yeah, it's been a succession of really great results against top teams. It's difficult you can compete with them, but to actually beat them, people don't really understand how hard that can be.
Yeah, I think in the past, looking back, Euros 2009, I played in a final where we got beat 6-2 off Germany, and you always want to go into a game wanting to win, but if I'm being honest, we knew that we couldn't compete with them that day. But now, whenever we come up against the top teams, I think we'll hold our own, and the girls are really excited to play against the best players, because I suppose now in the England team we have some of the best players now. So yeah, it's going really well, and hopefully we can just continue that progress.
Yeah, you've got the World Cup qualifier in Tranmere on the 19th of September against Russia, so we'll get that little
come along,
plug
it in.
So let's take it all back to the beginning. Why did you start playing football? How did you get into football?
I know it sounds really cheesy, but I feel like I was just kind of like born to play football. I can't remember a time in which I was like making a decision to play football. I think my mum said I always had a ball at my feet from when I could walk, and then I think my brother used to shove us in goal at the park, and I just loved the game. I loved it. It was difficult growing up because it was always me versus the boys, and I was the only girl in a boys' team. And I remember back then it wasn't, I've got nephews now and they get lifts to football from my sister and they get taken everywhere, but I remember being 9, 10-year-old waiting at the top of my street for a coach to come and pick us up, which wouldn't happen now because of safety, etc. And it was all perfectly above board, but yeah, I used to just go, I used to play football, I'd be there by myself. My mum had other commitments, I've got brothers and sisters, and I used to get bullied and I'd come off the pitch crying, but
by your teammates or
no, by the other team's parents. So they'd be like, "There's a girl playing break our legs," and I was only 8 or 9, and I'd actually come off the pitch in tears. But one thing was that I always wanted to go back the next week, and I think also not having my parents there at times, it meant when I went home it wasn't always asking about football. It meant we spoke about family things, and I think that's something I've brought into my career, that I like to play, but then I also like to switch off when I go home.
So, given you had those experiences playing boys football, what are your opinions on mixed football? Because girls can play in a boys team up to the age of 18.
Yeah, no, I think it's accepted more now. I don't think that would ever happen now. I think my era, going back quite a lot of years now, I'm 30, I think it is accepted more, and I think it's good for the girls. I think they get that competitive element, and at the end of the day, the boys are more physical than us. So I think they can push the girls' players on. And I know when we first signed for Manchester City, we went and played with the academy boys, and don't get us wrong, some of them now are playing first team for Manchester City, and we couldn't compete with them in terms of football, but what they taught us football-wise, I think we then brought professionalism and how to be off the pitch and how hard to work in the gym, and we really complemented each other. So yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's good for both parties, really.
It amuses me because I knew you when you were a little kid, so the idea that you're...
Oh,
that's true. Right. And there was one occasion our manager, Mick Mulhern, said that you'd been on holiday in Spain and had been showing the Barcelona youth boys some of your tricks and teaching them how to do it. Is that true?
I think I was about 13, and yeah, as I say, when I went on holiday, I'd just always have a ball at my feet, probably showing off doing my one trick that I've got. So yeah, I think I used to make a lot of friends when I went on holiday, just basically by having this football. So yeah, that is probably a true story.
And it was clear to your coaches even early on that, I remember Mick Mulhern said to me, Jill's going to make it. But it's not that easy, is it? I mean, it takes a lot of hard work. What's it like when you go to your first England camp when you're, 15, 16?
Yeah, I think my first England camp, I was 14, and it was for the under-16s. And if I'm being completely honest, I wasn't good enough. I really wasn't. I'd done well in local leagues, etc. But then when you open that up to the whole of England, I definitely wasn't good enough. And I came home to my mum and I said, you know what, maybe I'm going to have to think about doing something else. And it was hard because I was in a team with Steph Houghton, who's England captain, and I play with now Carly Telford, who's England goalkeeper as well. Two good friends of mine, and they were getting picked every month. And every month I'd be waiting for the letter, and it just didn't come, and I was devastated. But then Mo Marley, when I got to 18, so this was a period of 4 years, she gave us a chance to go and play for the under-19s, which it was a bit unheard of to go with just 1 year left. But yeah, I went, she made us captain, and yeah, I've got a lot to thank her for, really, because if that call hadn't come, I probably wouldn't have played for England over 100 times now.
You played for your hometown club, you played for Sunderland, didn't get a great deal of support, but you were playing at Gateshead College and studying, and then went to Loughborough. Would you have stayed in education if you hadn't played football?
My teachers would say no. No, I don't think so. I think I'm not really one of these that would sit in a classroom and study. I'm not thick by any means, but I just didn't put the work in when it came to education. I went to Loughborough, it's probably no secret, just because it was an opportunity to play football every day. And I think it helped with my football, but I was getting in so much trouble from classes, not turning up, not doing my work. But it was just something, I think I put so much work into football that I do regret a little bit not doing my studies, because I think it's important now for girls when they're coming through, if they don't make it in football, you need something to fall back on. So if anyone wants to give us a job in the next 3 years, yeah, it's very important. But no, I think I'd be lying if I said I would have stayed in education.
You mentioned Mo Marley. She signed you for Everton in 2006. How much of an upheaval was that to move from Sunderland to play at Everton?
Yeah, it was, I literally just got up and kind of left home. I was living at Loughborough. I was coaching in Sunderland. I used to travel to Loughborough for 3 days, and I used to travel to Liverpool for 3 days, and I just used to do this triangle in my L-Reg Peugeot, which I think had about 4 gears. But no, I loved it, and obviously looking at the opportunity that young players have now, I'm a little bit jealous, but then in a way, I don't think I'd change my journey at all, because it's been tough, but I've made some amazing friends along the way. It was times when you'd be in Liverpool and you'd be like, can anyone put us up for a couple of nights, because you just didn't have the support. But from that, I'm still in touch with them friends now, and I feel like I've learned good morals and good values as a person because of my journey. And it's not always about making money from a young age. I've never played football for money. It's always just been the love of the game, and I do feel fortunate every day when I go into Manchester City and people say this is your job. It's still a bit surreal now.
Yeah, but you were doing all that travelling, and you have to, I mean, the commitment you have to put into training, there were expectations, England programme, give you fitness programmes, and you have to keep fit for club football. Was that difficult to juggle? Was it tiring?
Yeah, it was.
Did you question it sometimes?
I look back at pictures now, and although I probably don't look much bigger now, I think I was about 2 stone lighter, because you'd literally get in your car after a game. We used to train on a Friday 8 till 10:30 in Liverpool. I had to get back up to Sunderland. It's like 1:30, 2 in the morning. You hadn't eaten properly. You didn't sleep properly. So yeah, it was a big commitment. But whenever I got into that car, I knew I wanted to go to Liverpool and I wanted to train. And I am the type of person that I don't like to do things that I don't like, which I know is the same for all of us. But I know wholeheartedly that I always wanted to travel to Everton, to be around them people and help the team hopefully win games.
Was it not frustrating because you were sort of perennial runners-up? You were chasing Arsenal, were the best team at the time. You were nearly beating them in the league. You would get to cup finals and...
No, I still think about it now. When we won the league with City last year, that was kind of, it'd been my aim for 14 years, and I still think about it now. We were nearly there with Everton. We needed 1 point last game of the season. I can't remember what year it was, and we ended up losing the game 1-0, and that really sticks in my mind. But I believe that you go through them things to then, when I did win it last year, it meant absolutely everything to us. I didn't want to leave go of the trophy. The girls were all trying to get photos, and I was like, no. I'm surprised I didn't take it home, actually. But yeah, I think you have to go through them lows to, it sounds really cliche, but then to really feel that high, and it felt all worth it when we lifted that trophy last year.
FIFA Pro are presenting tomorrow some of their findings from a global survey they've done of working conditions for female players, and one of the things they've found is that I think it's about 85% of elite female players, 3,500 players they surveyed, were considering retiring early because of the demands on, and you could totally understand that. It's hard. You're lucky now that you play at a club that looks after your every whim, as it were, provision. But can you understand that? And have you seen other people struggle?
I can't say it's a struggle now because we're full-time professionals, etc. But I think I understand if people want to have families and they have them commitments, then yeah, maybe they will look to retire early, because I suppose if you want a baby, you don't want to be taking that risk so later on in your career. So yeah, I can understand from that point of view. But for me, I'd play till I think I was 40 if my body allowed it.
Long-term contract.
Yeah, long-term. But it does actually makes us quite sad to think that you probably are in the last few years now. But I'm just going to make the most of it and see what happens.
Everton have just turned pro. Does that make you happy?
Yeah, really happy for them.
Do you think, why didn't you do it before?
No, I'm never really like that. As I say, I'm very grateful for the time that I had at Everton. Them young players starting out now, I think we have to keep trying to keep them grounded and tell them that it's not about what trainers you've got on your feet, but how many medals are in your cupboard. Because at the end of the day, at the end of your career, you're not going to remember all the materialistic stuff you got. You're going to remember the games that you won. So yeah, I'm happy for them, and I think it's important that older players like myself stick around. There's players in the England team, Casey Stoney, Farrell Williams, fantastic characters, and they really just love the game for what it is, and hopefully we can keep setting the standards in terms of getting them younger players to understand the journeys we've been on and how hard it's been to get the game up to where it is now.
So you've mentioned about the benefits of having signed for Man City and becoming full-time. How did that change your life, and did it change you as a footballer as a consequence?
Yeah, I think I've definitely improved. I think that first, I always said when I wasn't full-time that I needed more contact time on the ball. Technically, I needed to get better. And it was all good and well taking some cones and a football out to your local field and dodging dogs and getting
dog
Yeah. And I think I've always been naturally quite fit anyway, but I needed to get better on the ball. Still probably do, to be honest. But yeah, that first year, being on the football every day really made a difference. And I think when I see the kids now at the academies coming through, the 10, 11, 12-year-old, they're getting ball contact 5 times a week. That's up until the age of 26, I was probably getting ball contact time 2 days a week. So hopefully we'll see them players are going to be so much better than we were at their age, and hopefully the game will just keep getting better and people will want to come and watch them.
Yeah, game gets better, there are more opportunities. Your teammate Lucy Bronze has just left for Lyon. You've had chances to go abroad, haven't you, in the last few years? Do you regret that, or is it never a consideration?
I was having this conversation the other day with the girls. I was like, do you ever make a wrong decision, or do you just make the most of your decisions? And I think it's the type of person you are. And yeah, there was a time when I was thinking about leaving Everton, and then Andy Spence, the manager at the time, he offered us the captaincy. And as a person, I wanted to take on that role and responsibility and become a better person, I think, as opposed to a player. And I'm glad I made that decision, stayed another year. I was going to go to France, actually. And then by staying that other year, then Manchester City formed. So I don't regret the decision at all. I feel like everything happens. But if I'd gone to France, I still would have worked hard and hopefully still been playing for England. So
how long did you think about that possibility, or was it just, I could maybe go? Did you think about it seriously?
I probably had a coffee, made a decision and then came back. No, I'm not a person who massively overthinks things. So yeah, I probably did exactly that. Spoke to a few of the girls at Everton, and they probably told us that it was a good opportunity for us to take the captaincy. And Everton meant so much to us. It got us into the England team, and I felt like I owed them that of me staying and trying to help them as well as the younger players.
You mentioned coffee. So didn't people come up to you and say, you really like coffee?
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing you can put on social media?
Maybe. Yeah, no, I'm not like a beer drinker or anything. No, the girls always joke, but I probably only have about 1 or 2 coffees a day, but it's more the social element after training. I'm looking at Tess now. I'll always be like, does anybody want to come for a coffee? Because I just like chatting and having different conversations. It's not necessarily about the coffee. It's more the social element.
Okay. Are you one of the Red Bull crowd at England? Or?
No, well, we got it at Manchester City. They kind of said it wasn't the best for us before the game. So, yeah, we kind of laid off it a little bit.
And I mentioned that Lucy's gone to Lyon. You played in the Toulouse Cup, a friendly cup over last weekend.
Yeah.
And you beat Lyon for the second time. So Lyon are the UEFA Women's Champions League winners. They beat you in the semi-final last season, but over 2 legs, and you beat them in the second leg, and then you beat them again at the weekend. What do you learn from a game like that?
No, it was a great performance from the girls. We actually really played well, moved the ball well. And Lyon, yeah, they're the team that you look to. They've had their plans for the last 7-8 years. I don't know how many Champions Leagues they've won, and that's where we want to get to. They've got some fantastic players, but I think looking at that Champions League, that first leg, we got beat 3-0, was it? Yeah, 3-0, and it was massive lessons learned. We had young players who'd never played against these type of players, they'd never had international, never played for England, and I think they learned a lot as well about that's the physical demands. That's where you have to be at if you're going to compete with these players. Because I think sometimes in the league you've got players that are playing well, and suddenly they'll be like, they should be playing for England, and it's a completely different ball game. It really is. Yeah, I believe our league is very competitive and it's getting there, but it's still another
in what ways is it a different ball game?
I think physically, tactically, you're playing against players who are so experienced. Yes, we are in our league, and as I say, it is getting there. But I think it is still faster, a lot faster at international level. So if you go and score 20 goals for your club, doesn't mean if you play 20 times for England, you're going to get 20 goals. And I think that's something that players have to realise, that there is a jump.
So this season, what's the aim? What's the aim for Manchester City? Is it to win everything?
Yeah. I think every game we'll go into, we want to win it. I don't think that's ever been a secret of ours. We want to win that. We said last year that we really want, well, it was this year, wasn't it, but last season, that we really wanted to win the FA Cup, because it was something that we hadn't experienced yet. And being at Wembley, lifting the FA Cup, family, friends, it was one of the best moments, and I think that'll spur the girls on, that they want more trophies. So yeah, to win everything.
It's going to be quite a difficult thing to do, the league being drawn out over a much longer time. If you don't know, it was a summer season, the WSL, but it's now moving to a winter pyramid, so you kick off at the end of September and then run through till I think it's April or May.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to winter football again?
Yeah, I am. I think I've already told the girls that they can't wear gloves and stuff like that. I'm not into that from being from the northeast. But yeah, I've experienced playing in the Winter League, and I think when you speak about Champions League, we'll now mirror the French League, the German League, and hopefully it'll mean that we're fresher for them big games. So yeah, I welcome it, and hopefully we can get lots of bums on seats. I think we had between 2,000 and 3,000 at our games last season, and to go back 12, 13 years when there was probably your mum, your neighbour, a couple of dogs at the games, and it's massive to show how much it's grown, and hopefully we can just keep making that better and better.
So some of your competition in the WSL have made a few signings, and it almost feels like me when you read social media that some of the fans and some of the sort of commentators on the game are starting to write Man City off. Does that seem weird, being the underdogs a little bit?
I don't really read loads of stuff on social media. I think it's one of them where people always want to comment. They maybe want to give you, when things are going well, you'll get loads of praise. When it's not, you'll just get loads of negative comments. So for me, I kind of just try and keep myself in the middle. Don't get high with the highs and don't get low with the lows. And I think by keeping away from them comments, you can keep yourself kind of level grounded. So yeah, I didn't know that they said that we were the underdogs, to be honest.
Oh, that's me sort of paraphrasing the sort of general mood.
Who was it? What handle? I'll message you.
I think sometimes I hear players say in interviews, oh, well, people wrote us off, or they said we wouldn't win, or we were the underdogs. And I always think, well, where have they seen that?
Yeah.
When you're away with England, do certain players choose how much they dip in and dip out of social media?
Yeah, I think so. I think a few of them in the European Championships probably stayed off it. Maybe they would post but not scroll through things. Because I think it can have a massive effect. Like I do keep saying about younger players, but when you post yourself scoring a goal or something like that, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're amazing because you scored this goal," and I always say, "Listen, if your goal was good enough, it'll make it to the internet without you posting it." And I think that's a lesson that we can definitely learn, that you don't have to self-promote, just go into training, make the right decisions, work hard, and if the team wins, you should be happy.
You've played for England at 3 Euros and 3 World Cups. You've also played for Team GB at the London 2012 Olympics. Throw in a really annoying question at you. What are your highlights from that international career?
It's not over yet, hopefully.
So far?
Are you joking? Highlights. You know, the European Championships just gone. It was a great experience, really good. I really honestly believed we were going to win it. We had such a good atmosphere within the squad, and I kind of remember after that semi-final, we thought we were going to be there for the final, and they were literally like, "Where are you flying home? Where are you flying back to tomorrow?" And it was like we were just in shock because we really believed that everything was going well, and I suppose that's football. But one of my highlights will definitely be that tournament, just for how all the girls were off the pitch. I feel like we genuinely really supported each other. I was rooming with Farrah Williams, and I still say to this day, we're kind of competing for the same midfield spot. If she played in the final or if I'd played in the final, I think we would have both been just really happy for each other. And I think to get a squad to that point, I think massive credit to Mark Sampson and his staff, because it was definitely one of the most enjoyable tournaments I've been a part of.
Was beating France the big highlight for you?
Yeah, definitely.
In the quarterfinals at 1-0?
Definitely. I think it's been 42 years since we beat them.
It's getting on for 43.
It's a 43. I've been involved in a lot of them defeats, and we just really wanted to get that win. And seeing Casey Stoney's face after the game, she's been involved longer than me. It was just fantastic to get that result and to progress through to the semi-finals, because I think people thought that we probably wouldn't do it going into the quarter-finals.
But you picked up a second yellow card in that game against France, which meant you missed the Netherlands semi-final, and you magnanimously said to me afterwards, after the France game, well, it doesn't matter because they don't need me, but it must have been excruciating to watch.
Yeah, it was. I think I underestimated how it would feel sitting in them stands. But then,
So you said goodbye to the team in the changing room, and then
yeah, I wasn't really allowed in the changing room,
okay.
so I just said good luck and then went to the stands. But then, at the same time, it was hard to watch. It was really hard because it's kind of like your dreams are just disappearing and you can't even do anything. Even if you're on the bench, I think you can keep yourself warm and you can think, I might get 5 minutes, but it was hard. But then at the end of the day, I've got teammates who'd missed out on the tournament through injury, etc., situations like that. I'd seen them work so hard for it, and I wasn't going to complain that I was unavailable for one game. And going back to how the squad was, I really felt like we had the squad in a place where if you took one player out, if I'd have been playing, it wouldn't be that I was better than the other midfielder. It was just I brought different attributes. So it didn't work out in the semi-final, but just one of them things, I suppose.
You didn't watch the final. You told us in the interview on Friday.
I didn't. I am a bit of a. I was jealous, to be honest. I just wanted to be there. It's like previous FA Cups. If we get knocked out in the semi-final, I won't sit and watch it. I'm not kind of ashamed to say that. It would just kill us for not being there. So I was actually.
They were good though, Tessel, weren't they? You'll watch it sometime.
They were very good.
Did you feel bad when you walloped Scotland 6-0 in the opening game? It was a record win.
No, I wouldn't say feel bad. I think it's football, isn't it? I'm sure if they'd walloped us 6-0, they definitely wouldn't have felt bad. So it was a good game for us. We got the ball down, we played well, and obviously get them nerves out of some players are playing their first international game of a tournament. So yeah, it was a great result for us and a great team performance.
Because it just didn't go right for Scotland. They didn't have the players many of the players they wanted available. And you're sitting watching the Netherlands game. You coach kids now. Did you watch that game and think they should be doing this differently? Do you think there's anything they could have done differently against the Dutch in the semi-final?
It's one of them, isn't it? I think even watching Scotland in our first game, I think second half they were a lot better when they pressed us. So when they look back, they'll think, why didn't we press them first half? And we might not have been, I don't know what the score was at half time. But yeah, we just seem to be a bit, we never really got going in that semi-final, and sometimes that happens in football. There's games where you'll press a team and you're suddenly like 2-0 up and it's going great and you know you're going to win. There'll be another game where you press a team and they beat the press and you end up losing 2-0 at half time, and you know it's kind of game over. So it's easy to be on the side and say, that team should be doing that. I do it with Sunderland men all the time. I am a Sunderland fan from being from Sunderland. And it's easy, isn't it, sometimes to sit on the side saying what should be happening, but it's obviously difficult when you're in it.
So what's got the next few weeks got in store for you?
More football. So yeah, we've got another friendly on Thursday with City, and then we'll go away with England for 10 days. And it's been quite difficult going from, I packed my bags literally and then went away for 10 weeks and just was like, I'm going to give everything to this tournament. Didn't go home in that time, just trained and tried to get my routine right, and then suddenly we were out of the tournament and we had a week off or 10 days and then we were back with City. So it's been quite hard to get your head around everything, but it's been good being back with the girls, and yeah, it'll be good meeting back up with England next week and seeing a lot of them girls as well.
And it's the road to France now, isn't it? So yeah. France 2019, you'll get to that final and win gold there.
Yes, of course.
And you'll still be in the team because you're only 30.
Hopefully.
No, I am 30. Okay, that was brilliant. Thank you very much, Jill.
You. No worries.
Round of applause for Jill.
Thank you.